Ghost with Cats, Chapter 9, Midnight Calls. Later, after she made Breeze rest, she cornered Vorn in the kitchen. "You're not a clone like Breeze is." She needed to confirm a few things. "No, Lady Annie. I am a born one. Only those below the 51st tier are made ones." "Why?" Perhaps the admant should answer these questions. "I'm not asking him. I'm asking you. He is already upset that I met his brother before his death while he was looking for something called the light. An object that is supposed to be here on Earth, but Tal has no idea what it is," she explained. "Yes, I am aware. My lady, on Eloh, all females are tier 10 or higher. The reason is because there are so few of them. Less than 1 in 300 births are female, and the recent generations of females refuse to be joined or act as mothers. And if a child is conceived and is not a female child, then the child's father risks being ended. Males risk injury and even life to create a child. It has become such a risk that it is now mandatory among males to participate in what you would call a lottery. Joinings are arranged, but rarely permanent, and, as they once were, there is no longer any affection between the genders of our race, only animosity. Our children are raised without warmth except from a father, if he survives, or from their surviving siblings, uncles, or cousins. Therefore, to maintain the numbers needed for our work and workforce, they are made, such as Breeze, and are forever alone." Annie stared at him, almost horrified. She shook her head, blinking back tears, then asked, "Well, then do your, males and females find companionship with each other? I mean, males and females and females." It was his turn to stare at her. "Such a thing is not done among our people as it is among your people. We are not inclined in such a manner. Affection between males is only loyalty or friendship driven, or by brotherly and family bonds. But even that is being lost, because it is not in the male nature to be openly affectionate and nurturing." Her expression was so sad for a moment, then she hugged him. At first, he wasn't sure how to react. Then he hugged her back. His elderly grandmother hugged him, his brothers, and his cousins often before her death, when he was 9. "Thank you, my lady," Vorn responded softly after she released him. "I feel so bad for your people, Vorn." Vorn nodded slightly. "It grieves my master's heart, because he cannot find the answers his brother sought to help our people." By the second day, there were half a dozen cats at the cabin. Rule number 2 for cats: cats will find you. Annie could almost hear her daddy's voice teasing her. All the cats were friendly. The Eloh noted most seemed very fond of Annie. "My lady, are these your felines?" Vorn asked as he petted one. She revealed to them she had never owned a cat, and these were her neighbors' cats. This always happened. We never knew why. "Cats just love you. Oh, yes, they do," was something her father always teased. Breeze seemed to attract the furry creatures as well. They followed him around, whether he was inside doing small things or outside making firewood. The sword pet seemed to enjoy splitting wood with a maul or using the chainsaw to cut fallen trees. Vorn took to reading the many printed books Annie owned, while Annie spent most of her time tapping on her laptop, working for her friend Potts. She gnawed on the back of her knuckles or clicked her pen as she thought, which Tall found very odd. On the third day, Tall stood at the window, watching Annie and Brice on the balcony. He did not understand what they were doing. Giant snowflakes were falling gently, and Annie was having Brice catch them on a piece of black paper. Sometimes she would take an image of one or two with her camera. Vorn was sitting in a chair reading. Without being asked, he answered, "Lady Annie is endeavoring to show Brice the many shapes of snowflakes, so she can teach them how to make them." Tall tipped his head. "Make them? Are they not formed from frozen water vapor?" He felt Vorn's smile without seeing it. "I believe she is going to teach him to make them using a cutting utensil and paper. For ornamentation, master." Tall simply nodded, thinking perhaps he would go for a run. Annie had given him a map of all the local hiking trails. He did not think he would ever tire of running through this majestic wilderness. Going to his room, Tall changed and went out the opposite door. Today he would go to the top of one of the peaks. He wondered if his host realized how quickly his people could traverse distances. A while later, Tall returned to find Annie and Brice cutting geometric forms out of folded paper. They were quite beautiful and did look like abstract snowflakes. Brice seemed so happy to work on them. Annie also taught him how to draw the complicated form on paper. The swords pet seemed content to spend hours on his new creative endeavors, with his Lady Annie sitting in her overstuffed chair typing. She gave him a book on a paper folding craft called origami, and soon folded birds and felines littered their home. Tall was very bored by the end of 5 days. He ran multiple times around the many small lakes every day, or to the peaks, or split wood with Brice. He missed his sanctum room and swords. Food was terrible, never fresh, and it would be at least 5 more days before the rescue ship was close enough to hail them. He already read the only books their host owned on warcraft and war history. Those books belonged to her late father. At dinner, he pushed his steak away half-eaten and stomped into his room, slamming the door. "What's wrong with him?" Annie asked, pushing the plate over to Brice, who devoured the extra meat. "The master normally eats fresh killed meats with blood not drained. He understands this is what we have on this world, but he is accustomed to his routine, and this is stressful to him," Vorn explained. She eyed the stairs, frowning. The lilt in her voice came back. "Well, why didn't y'all just ask?" "The master does not feel it is appropriate to question a host who has risked so much to help us." Annie sighed. She was practically vegan, eating mostly grains and vegetables, with the occasional egg, cheese, or fish. Serving red meat, pork, and poultry 3 meals a day for her guest dietary requirements was Annie sighed. She was practically vegan, eating mostly grains and vegetables, with the occasional egg, cheese, or fish, serving red meat, pork, and poultry 3 times a day for her guests' dietary requirements was getting to her. But, as far as she knew, that was what they ate. High protein equaling twice as much meat as humans. Vorn, I need you to tell me exactly what Tall is used to eating, and I will see what we can do. I also need to know his habits, so he doesn't drive me nuts with his cabin fever. I have a book to finish. The master is not ill with a fever, Vorn declared. Annie laughed until she snorted, as Vorn and Briest looked at her in concern. It isn't an illness. It's when you get all jumpy inside from being holed up in a small place with nothing to do. You have your books, I have my work. Briest has his new feline friends, origami paper art, and the firewood. Tall just wanders around Blue Lake and Bear Lake or stares at the twin sisters. Tomorrow morning early, Briest and I will see if we can get a deer for a few days' worth of fresh meat. Then I'm heading down to Trinidad in the Land Rover. The town is small, but I can handle it for a little while. I need to go Christmas shopping. It might be fun for him to get out of here if he wants to go with me, she said as she stretched in her chair. Your solution should prove satisfactory, my lady. Vorn nodded, thinking Lady Annie was very perceptive. She would find a way to improve the master's mood. Later that evening, Tall walked silently through the cabin. Up in the loft, he could see the glow of Annie's laptop and hear her talking to someone. I hope you like the ending, Pops. It should read just like you thought it would, she was saying. I'm sure I will love it. I got your postcard. See any wolves? Annie was talking to an elderly male by the sound of his voice. Annie answered, None yet. Hear any good spook stories? Just one about a girl whose name wasn't Alice. She crawled down a rabbit hole and saved the world from terrorists. Then, that same not Alice, just last week, caused the aurora borealis to be seen as far south as Arizona, while blowing a new rabbit hole in the Utah desert. Now everyone is looking for her and 3 little green men. So much trouble from a ghost. The elderly man's voice was amused. She laughed too. You writers have the craziest imaginations, Pops. Ghosts and aliens? Really? I'm so glad I just have to fill in the words between the ideas. And by the by, shiny things just happen around people whose names start with A. Sharon is worried, Pops announced in a serious tone after pausing. She said to tell you, the old man says don't come home. I wish I could go, but we both know you can't take little green men home for the holidays. That movie already failed at the box offices. She was trying to sound amused, but there was no mirth in it. Then she revealed seriously, I have to find someone named Bentz. I think he is the one who wants me dead. A few moments of silence followed. Dr. Dale Bentz, a government contractor, bought a bunch of unclassified scientific research when the transparency policy made everything public and slapped corporate R&D protection on it. All the really dangerous stuff. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing. He is on practically every watch list on the world, as well as on every government's payroll. I'll send you what my friends sent me, in case I heard from you. Be careful, Annie. If this man wants you and your friends, he will find you." The old writer's eyes had a hard shine to them as he looked at Annie across the internet. If their old contacts feared this man, Annie knew she was in trouble. She wanted to go and throw up. "Don't worry, Pops. A few more days and E.T. is going home. After that, I'm a Christmas ghost," Annie declared, and Tall wondered what she meant. She talked in such strange ways, but the human male seemed to understand her. Past, present, or future? She laughed instead of answering. "You know where I'll be, and Sharon says she is traveling. The wolves are sniffing around the Big Apple," he continued. Annie shook her head. "Well, we'll all get extra presents for Hanukkah. She loves to shop on the road. I wonder if it's vineyards or distilleries this year." The elderly writer chuckled. "I still haven't drank all of last year's stock." "Me either, or the year before's whiskeys. I could make a fortune hawking it all on eBay." She giggled. "Merry Christmas, Pops." "Merry Christmas, honey," he said, and the Skype call ended. Silently, Tall started to move back to his room when he heard the connection reopen, and Annie started speaking in a language remarkably similar to his own. The translator implant in his head immediately changed languages. The daylight cycle they spent in orbit had allowed them to gain some knowledge of the vast number of languages on this world. "Little brother, grandfather, how is grandfather?" Annie asked her adopted brother. "Sister, you're alive! The whole world is looking for you. They want to kill you. Grandfather is not well. The cancer is back again. He will not see another birthday. You must not come. They're waiting for you." A young man's voice warned as Tall eavesdropped. "I know. Can I talk to him?" she pleaded. "Give me 5 minutes. His nurse should be starting his chemo, and I will say I have come to play a game with him. I love you, sister. Allah be praised, I am so happy you are not dead. I will call you right back," Aji promised. There was a chime, and the call ended. Above in the loft, Tall could hear Annie crying. He stepped into the shadows of the living room as she ran down the stairs to the bathroom and watched her face, then sprinted back upstairs. The whole time she muttered repeatedly, "Pull it together, girl. You can't be sad. Be shiny. Be shiny." Annie chewed her knuckle as she waited and prayed for them to call back. 7 minutes later, her laptop chimed, and she answered. "Opir? My angel, is it truly you?" A weak, elderly voice came. "Grandfather, I missed you so much." Smiling brightly, Annie gushed in the other language. Then she looked at the camera apologetically. "I promised I would come for your birthday, but I can't. I'm so sorry." "You must not come, my angel. Evil men have come looking for you. Hadif's former associates, your mother's enemies, and even your government. They all want to know where you are hiding. Ajay says you are routing all over the world as he is. My smart girl. You are to be like the desert cat, sleek and invisible. My heart beats stronger knowing you are safe," the elderly voice assured her, as Tall wondered who he was to Annie because she had told Vorn she was the last of her family. "Grandfather Opir, do you remember your friend True with his beautiful dark eyes?" Annie questioned her, surprised her adopted grandfather. Yes, my angel. Why would you ask about someone so long gone from this world? Because I have met his younger brother. He's asleep downstairs with his servants. It is why everyone is looking for me, she confessed. There was a long pause before Opir spoke again. What do you require, Annalise? Only a little shell and a lone star to wish upon, grandfather, and for your forgiveness that I am breaking my promise for your 100th birthday with my 2 left feet. He laughed and coughed, then Audrey interrupted swiftly. My brother comes. We love you. There was a chime, and the call ended as she exclaimed, No, wait! After a moment she whispered, I love you both too. Then she wept again, muffling her sobs with her hands. Tall stood below, listening and wondering. He noted the humans used the word love quite often in the media they broadcasted, but he did not quite understand it. It seemed to mean from mild to great affection, but it also seemed to mean something greater than affection when placed on some people. Whomever the boy and the elderly man were, Annie had a great deal of love for them. Tall wondered what it felt like to love and to be loved. Humans were strange. He thought about their behavior as he stared out at the stars. During the night, Annie had one of her bad dreams again. Upstairs, he heard her cry out in her sleep. Then she gasped herself awake. He wondered what happened to cause her such terror that she could not even rest. He also wondered if the source of the dreams were the reason she was made ill by blood and suffered anxiety. She had never figured out he only slept 3 or 4 hours, and was always witness to her nightly horror. He went back to bed before she got up at dawn out of respect for her home, but it pained his soul in an odd way to know that she suffered.